Okay, so what we're going to talk about is our Toolbox talk. So we're going to be talking about the tools that are available to Central Ohio's entrepreneurs to help them build the strongest possible businesses such that they are positioned to approach a lender with confidence. And then we'll be talking with our delightful panel here who will explain how they approach those tools and how they integrate them into the advising process. First, I want to introduce our First Lady of Finance, Ellen Harvey. You're probably all familiar with Ellen. Our Duchess of Digital Marketing, Tanya Wilson. And then last but not least, the man who puts fun in funding, Kevin Hammond. So first thing we'll do is do a quick run through of, I'm taking this off because I keep hearing YMCA in my head. So we'll talk about the tools that we have available here at the Small Business Development Center, and then we'll dive into some questions. We can explore how our advising team integrates those tools into our processes. So first up is going to be Inquisit, and this is a new program that was launched, I believe, last year, and this was developed by Youngstown State University and funding from the Ohio Development Services Agency and the SBA. So what Inquisit does is help you assess the health of your business. So if you think about if you're not feeling so well and you go to your doctor to find out, hey, what's going on with me, the first thing that they're going to do is kind of establish a baseline. You know, take blood pressure, do a blood panel, do an exam, those sorts of things. That's what Inquisit does for the business. So it's three phases. It does identify areas of opportunity within your company. This is done through an online self-assessment. Typically, it's a single individual who will do that, representing the company, that you can have multiple people in the company completing the same assessment for the same business, and this gives you a better picture of the health of the business. And then you'll use those results in working with your advisor to prioritize those areas and set actionable goals. So if you determine that you haven't documented your processes and procedures, you don't have an adequate employee handbook, then this may be an opportunity for you to address those issues. And then ultimately then what this would allow you to do is grow your business, and they also do this through advising and then some integrated e-learning resources. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. You're not alone. You're working with your advisor. We typically recommend doing this assessment every year. So you get a checkup each year to see how you're doing. So if some of you have some great insurance plans, you have to do that for yourself every year. Why wouldn't you do that for your business as well? So the Inquisit addresses 9 key business areas, which we list here: processes, human resources, planning, financial analysis, management. Everything is listed here. And this is all based on best practices of high-performing businesses. So this isn't something that's just been arbitrarily developed. There's actually some science behind this. And then ultimately it lets you assess how well your company follows the practices of those high-performing companies. So it lets you compare yourself to the business that you admire or that you would like to be yourself someday. This is best for a business that has been open for business and generating sales for 3 years at least, and has 2 or more employees. Now, those are just guidelines. It can work for any business, but be aware that the more established the business is, the better the results are going to be. Time to complete, usually about an hour. It's online, self-paced, nothing difficult there. It's free for SBDC clients. And to access this, you would need to talk with your advisor, so they would need to give you access. Next, we have Vertical IQ, and this is provided to us by the Ohio Development Agency. This is a clearinghouse basically for industry research. So they have cover about 97% of the U.S. economy and Canadian businesses. So if you're looking for information on non-emergency medical transportation, we can provide you with that report, typically between 20 and 30 pages, just depending on the industry. And does wonderful things like give you benchmarks. It can talk about pitfalls, trends, startup costs. So this is really helpful as you're working your way through your plan. It's a nice way to get a jump start on your planning if you're writing your first business plan. So it can help you answer those simple questions, and you can take it a little further into those. Good for any business, pre-venture, existing, it doesn't matter. It's free for SBDC clients, and if you would like a report for your business from Vertical IQ, just let your advisor know, and we can provide that for you. Next, we have SBDC Net, and this is similar. This is customized research typically, and it's not coming from a single source. It's not prepackaged. So this is the official National Information Clearinghouse for the U.S. Small Business Administration, and they support the entire, all of the SBDCs in the United States, which is about 1,000 SBDC centers. They have 29 prepackaged research kits that you can request. And I list the most common here, and then you can also request a customized research kit. Again, free for SBDC clients, good for any business, pre-venture, existing, doesn't matter. 20 to 30-day turnaround time for this, so be aware of that. If you're looking for this for a loan, you're thinking about it, get it in plenty of time, because it may not be exactly what you need, and if you need to do additional research, you want to have that time. Give yourself the gift of time. Typically, they're emailed to you by your SBDC advisor. It's free, and if you would like this information, talk with your SBDC advisor. Next up is Columbus Metropolitan Library. Ryan, are you here, Ryan? Ryan and Rachel back there. Ryan and Rachel are your best friends. You just haven't met them yet. They both work with the Columbus Metropolitan Library, and everybody that I've sent to them, they come back and say the same thing. Oh, I love these people. They're fabulous. So if research isn't your thing, that's why they all have graduate degrees and spend their lives talking about research and library science. So I highly encourage you to reach out to them, particularly the Business and Nonprofit Resource Center. That's at the downtown branch of the Columbus Library on the 3rd floor. And they offer computers if you need a computer. They have seminars and workshops throughout the year, private meeting space, software, including LivePlan if you're interested in creating a business plan. They have a limited number of licenses for LivePlan, so there may be a waiting list for that. And access to lots of research and databases. So good for any business, it's free, and you can visit them in person or online, and you don't need to go through us. Business Plan Workbench, this is a new platform that we've launched. This is a way to help you bridge the gap between creating your first business model canvas. If you've attended BASE and BizStart, you've been working on a canvas. So this will help you take that first step and create your own business plan. It's online, it's self-paced. We try to use simple language, and we incorporate explanations of key concepts and terms so you can really understand what the question is and how you're expected to answer it. It's in 12 modules, again, self-paced online, and then there are examples of each completed section so you don't have to pull this out of the air and possibly get it wrong, so you know what the expectation is. This is good for any business that's looking to create their first business plan. It's free, and if you're interested, again, talk with your SBDC advisor. ProfitSense, this is a web-based financial analysis tool. Pardon me. This helps you assess and understand your financial performance. It provides an easy-to-understand narrative. It includes benchmarks, and it's wonderful for working on forecasts and then preliminary draft business valuations. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a business, it would work for that as well. This is best for established businesses. It's free for SBDC clients, and again, if you're interested, talk with your SBDC advisor. And last but not least, Growth Wheel. And it's a visual toolbox and cloud-based advising platform, and it incorporates e-learning resources, worksheets, additional research. It's entirely cloud-based. It does include some business assessment tools. It can help with financial planning. It provides reporting and analytics functions, and then e-learning resources as well. It's free for SBDC clients. If you're interested, talk with your SBDC advisor. We can help you access any of these if you don't, or provide access. So we've already introduced our lovely panel here, and hopefully they aren't snoozing. And my slides aren't here. That's okay. All right, we'll wing it. So we'll just jump right in here. So first question here, I'm going to pose to Ellen because she's giving me the side eye here, so I just really want to, just break the ice with her. So Miss Ellen, how does a business assess, or how do you assess the health of a client's business, and what tools do you recommend for that process?
I pass that to Kevin.
Okay, Kevin, so.
No, so
If it is a more established business, the Inquisitive tool that Bruce had just mentioned, one of the first tools that he offered to you, is one that I would use. So that, again, is for a business that's more established and has at least 2 W-2 employees. It is a great tool to really allow you to get your hands around what's going on in your business and areas in which you can improve, and it allows me as an advisor to take that bit by bit to be able to address each one of those sections with you. In addition to that, if you're a startup business, I'm just really, my approach is more hands-on. So I'm going to meet with you and really figure out what it is that you know about your business beyond just the idea of the product or the service that you're going to provide. Do you truly understand what it means to operate a business? So I'm going to talk to you about that. Just making sure that you have a strong base and foundation, that you understand what the business structure is that you're wanting to possibly set your business under. Understand why you need business liability insurance. So just having those very early on conversations with you to make sure that you are establishing a strong base for your business. And then again, as an established business, let's evaluate what that business looks like using the Inquisit tool so that we're able to move forward. And then as far as a startup business, one of the tools that I might use with you is the business model canvas. And I don't think we showed that today, but the business model canvas is a tool that we use. If you are a startup business or in very early stages, one of the first classes we offer is called BASE. And in that BASE session, they will talk about the business model canvas. And what it does is allow you to really get your ideas down on paper. It's like 10 different concepts. It talks about what is the problem, what is the solution, are you offering a product or service? It really allows you to at least get it down on paper. And that is a great starting tool for someone who's a startup business to let us start evaluating each one of those sections and how we need to further develop it. And then I use the growth wheel tool to further drill down in each one of those categories.
Thank you. That's good. And it's interesting, and I'm sure you will all agree with me, that we learned a lot during the pandemic, whether we wanted to or not. When the pandemic relief programs started rolling out and businesses were coming to us and they were interested in applying, I would say 75% of the time they couldn't provide financials. They had no business plan. So just because a business is surviving at the moment doesn't mean that it's thriving. So even if you think that none of these tools apply to you, you're not interested, that doesn't mean that your business can't be doing better. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be thinking about what happens if there is another event of some sort that would disrupt the economy the way the pandemic did. So these tools go beyond just looking at how can I position my business best to apply for a business loan. So thank you, Alan. Kevin, do you have any input you would like to provide on that same question?
Yeah, I mean, as far as an existing business in this case here, another great tool to assess a business health is the numbers, right? So the numbers always tell a story. And one of the great tools we have for that Bruce mentioned is Profit Sense. I use that a ton with my clients, especially, again, you need to be an existing business to make that a worthwhile tool. I use that because I can take, 12 months. Ideally, you need to be in business 2 years to get really good feedback from that Profit Sense tool. It will not only give you the kind of quantitative, the numbers and so forth, differentials and things you need to do, but it also gives you the written stuff, the qualitative, words of, all right, you need to, work on your gross margin. You need to, figure out if your operating costs are higher than what they should be. You need to, figure out if you could get discounts from suppliers and so forth. So, again, the numbers is always a great way to look and see, again, if you're an existing business, how well is it performing, right? So you might think it's doing okay, but maybe you could do a lot better. And this tool also helps to, Profit Sense, it helps to benchmark the kind of business you have with your competitors. So other kind of businesses that are like yours, so there's always those benchmarks out there. What's, the average type of statistics such as gross margin, profit margin, amount they pay on payroll, amount of fixed cost, operating costs, and so forth. So you can use that to peg against what does a typical business like yours typically do from a financial standpoint. Then that allows you to figure out, all right, where are you at in that spectrum, and then how can you improve? And again, the numbers, I always tell my clients, the numbers are not the most exciting thing. I know when I teach my BizStart class in Module 3, the whole class is the numbers part. And there's quite a few folks in the audience who have taken the BizStart course. And the Module 3 is never the most favorite one for folks, but it's important, right? Because you got to know your numbers as the owner of a business. You got to know your numbers, again, because they tell that story.
Thank you. Tanya, you've been quiet down there.
Just waiting.
Yeah, just waiting. You knew, yeah. So can you talk about the importance and process of turning a vision for a business, for business success into an actionable plan, and what tools you would use for that process?
Yeah, knowing what your vision is for your business and where you want to go is always one of the number one things I ask all of my clients. And so even if, you are just starting out and, you want to be like nationwide one day, I still want to know that. Because we're definitely going to look at how we approach the business. If you want a lifestyle business like was mentioned earlier, which is kind of like a business that's just for you, it's, kind of to work for yourself, you're going to be a lot less aggressive than if you're going to actually want to achieve have a business across the country. So one of the things that I look at is I typically will look at using like the business model canvas or the workbench, because what I want to do is I want to see if you've really thought out your structure of your business. We have to build a brand around your business. You actually have to know what your vision is, what your mission is, like who your customers are, which is the most important thing, and to really know like what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. And then from there, once we can get down to creating that brand concept so that you can sell the business, making sure that you're really focused on the customer, then we can start breaking down and looking at what are your goals for your first quarter, and then breaking that down to there into actual action items, right? So, I definitely ask everyone. We may talk about this later. Putting your goals into like a SMART goal, and that's something that is measurable and that's deadline based, and then we look at that. I typically will use cost projections and numbers. As I go through that process, even for marketing, I like to see like if you have a goal of doing like $15,000, maybe you have a goal like I want to sell $15,000 in revenue for a quarter. That may seem really daunting, but if we break that down and say, okay, well, what's another way we can look at it? And so maybe your product, maybe you're selling home inspections or something, and it's like $500, per home inspection. Now it's 30. Now I need 30 clients, right? So we went from $15,000, now I need 30. Now we can say, okay, where can I get these 30 clients? It begins to create a very actionable plan and help decide what are going to be the best strategies to achieve that.
Excellent, thank you. So while we have our eyes on Tanya, can you talk about how you would assess a client's ability to secure a business loan, and then what tools you would help with that process?
Yeah, typically I will do, usually I just use a spreadsheet. Actually, it's probably a spreadsheet that was created by Mr. Kevin Hammond over here. I'm pretty fond of his spreadsheets. Mm-hmm. And so we'll go through the cost, projections of that. Typically I do, ask a client and, what they believe. We don't have access to pulling credit reports or whatever, but to know what your credit score is. Looking at where your financial status is right now. I think sometimes clients that I talk to don't realize that even though you're starting a new business, regardless whether if it's an LLC or a corporation, it still has to be personally guaranteed by you, and especially when you're starting out. And so your bankability is going to be very important. That's why Kiva is important for to help individuals get access to funding when they can't do it through traditional sources. And so that's one of the first things we look at to see if there's any kind of credit problems that we need to address, or make sure that there is funding, there is revenue coming in. Make sure there's an income coming in that's going to be able to support paying back the loan. And then we get a very realistic look at what you need. What are you going to need to start up costs? And we want real quotes. And so having you actually do the work of going out and actually contacting companies, like finding out what your business insurance is going to cost, calling the Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, finding out what your workers' comp insurance is going to be, so we can have a very realistic view on that. And so the numbers, the cost projection spreadsheet is a really important tool for that.
And it's important to use, I love Kevin's spreadsheet, by the way. I think we all use it. Really a great tool for creating those projections. So you're actually working with numbers. So, and my favorite example is the cupcake business. So if you want to clear $50,000 a year selling cupcakes, how many of those little cupcakes do you need to sell to clear $50,000? And you can work backwards and determine, I don't want to spend for 24/7 in a kitchen baking cupcakes. So it also helps you understand what do you need to do in terms of strategy to achieve that. Ellen. And then we'll go to Kevin. Just Ellen, because, ladies first. How do you help a client determine precisely why they need a business loan and how they're going to deploy those funds? And then what tools and resources do you use to assist with that process?
Can you repeat the question?
Oh my gosh, yes, of course, Ellen. Anything for
What
you?
number is it? Look,
It would be number 6.
number 6.
So how do you help a client determine precisely why they need a business loan and how they will deploy those funds? And then what tools and resources do you use to help with that process?
Thank you for repeating that.
You're welcome.
So I think it's necessary that every business have a business plan, regardless of what stage that you're in, whether you're a startup, whether you've been around for a while, you're looking to expand your services. I think it's necessary to have a business plan, as it is something that you're using to set your goals, right? And something that you're allowed, that's positioned you to be accountable to it. And so it's no different than if we go into the beginning of this 2025 and we're setting out plans as far as what we want to accomplish in 2025, and we got these aspirations. We want to lose weight, we want to start exercising, we want to do whatever it is. But if we put them out there and we put them on a vision board and we don't put any action plan behind it, nothing's going to happen. So a business plan is your action plan. It's this model that is constantly changing and adapting to your business and to your growth of your business. It allows you to set yourself accountable to certain goals and milestones, and that if you don't accomplish those, then you can go back to that business plan and revamp it to how you need to move forward next. So it's important for various reasons. It's important for accessing funding, because if you are looking to go to a bank and you're wanting to secure some funding, they want to see your plans. What is your action steps that you're going to put in place to get your product or service in front of somebody to actually make a sale, to generate some revenue, to pay them back? So all of that should be laid out in your narrative and your numbers within your business plan. It's important for telling your team about what your idea is or your business itself. And so it can be used to educate and to engage your team as to expressing to them your idea and getting them on board. A business and being an entrepreneur, it's your baby. You're growing it, you're helping it to become whatever it's going to become. And you don't just want employees, you want other people that are just as invested in you. And so in sharing your business plan and sharing your idea with them and your growth strategy, it's one way that you can do that. In addition to, let's say you're looking to secure a brick and mortar space for your building. Oftentimes, the landlord's going to be looking for this business plan to see how you're going to be operating this business, that you are going to be able to make money to, of course, then pay them. So it can be used for a variety of different things, but most importantly, it needs to be, you need to use it as accountability for yourself. And so I had mentioned the business model canvas. That is one of the tools that I start in helping you develop a business plan. Then we go on to a larger type of business plan, which is the ones that you can use the SBA template. You can use the workbench that Bruce created. There's another site called dreambuilders.org that's in English and in Spanish. That's also a tool that can help you to create a business plan. Also allows you to connect with other groups. As entrepreneurs, I know Otto had mentioned earlier today, can be lonely, so that allows you to connect with groups. And so you can use the business plan for that. And then what was the second part of this question? How will they deploy the funds? So in your business plan, a part of that should be, if you're a startup, a section of that's going to be a use of funds, right? How you're going to be using the funds that you may be requesting for funding to get your business off the ground, or even if it's an expansion of that business. How will those funds be leveraged? And so that is a narrative part of your business plan, as well as a part of your financial, of how you're going to take that money into the business and deploy it out, right? And so how will those funds be deployed is very important. Are you going to be using those funds for working capital? Is it going for day-to-day operations? Are the funds going to be used to hire on another employee? Are the funds going to be used to buy a piece of equipment that decreases the expenses of you creating a product? So all of that is a part of your business plan, especially if you're looking for funding in your business of how you're going to actually deploy those funds. And we call that a use of funds that you might see in your business plan.
So are you saying that they can't just come in and say, I would like, about $100,000 to start my cupcake business?
Well, Bruce, typically they don't say that. Typically they say, I don't know how much money I need. So if they started with, I need $100,000, I'd even be happy with that. So a lot of times people come to me and say, yeah, I'd like to start my business. I'm like, well, how much money do you need? Well, I don't know. Well, what were you talking to me for? Go back, figure out how much money do you need and what do you need it for, right? Is it for marketing? Is it for working capital? Is it for buying a piece of equipment? Is it for securing your lease? So that is very, very important. Not only if you're going for funding, but just anybody who looks at your plan so they understand your idea. And you know how you are going to need funding in the future as well, because your business plan should be 1 to at least 3 years out.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Kevin, anything to add to Ellen's information?
Yeah, I mean, I think what she said there makes a lot of sense. Yeah, and you want to assess exactly why you need those funds, right? Is it because, you're trying to drive sales? Is it because your margins aren't healthy already? I mean, sometimes it's, sometimes it's not always great to get funds if you really don't have that plan for it, right? So if you're already in a hole, you're in the negative and so forth, let's figure that out first before we throw more money at it. And that's what I try to stress with my clients, that a lot of times we tend to think that more injection of funds is going to be the solution. And sometimes it is. Other times it becomes much more of a challenge because then you got much higher debt payments, but you still haven't looked at your margins and so forth. And how can you improve things internally before you get those funds?
So do you think it's okay for someone to pursue a business loan because they don't want to use their own money?
I mean, certainly it's always, we always talk about like use other people's money. But, when you're going for funding any place, the banks, whoever it might be that's going to give you the money, they want to know you got some skin in the game, right? If you're not willing to put something into the business, a decent amount, 10% or whatever it might be, then, why is anyone else going to want to throw money into it if you're not going to put money into it?
Excellent, thank you. So back to Ellen. How do you help a client assess the available loan products and determine which is most suitable for their business?
Well, that's a process, and I don't know that I necessarily use a tool for that other than our one-on-one counseling meetings. When I'm having those meetings with you, if you come to me and you say, I'm interested in pursuing some funding for my business for whatever reason, we're just going to have a general conversation because I need to assess a few things. And in having a conversation with you, I'll be able to do so. So I'm looking at the 5 C's, just to keep it easy, right? Your credit, character, collateral, capital, and capacity. And so when I'm talking to you, I want to know about your credit, right? Not only just your credit score, but I want to know your credit history. Have you had any lates? Do you have any student loans? Do you have any federal loans that have ever went in default? So I'm looking for certain things, right? I'm looking to help guide you into the type of financing that you're going to need. And I start with credit because many loan products have certain credit score requirements, lengths of time since you've had a bankruptcy or foreclosure, or you can't be on default on any type of federal government loan. So that helps me have some direction as far as where to try and send you, and just having a conversation about your credit. If in finding out and evaluating and having a conversation about your credit, I find that there's not an option for you right now, that allows me to guide you to the next step, and that is credit repair, right? And so for that, I use appraising. And we'll talk about how you can raise your credit score, tricks and tips I can give you in doing so. And if it goes beyond me, appraising is a wonderful resource that can help you as far as with credit management. That that leads me into character. So credit and character kind of go hand in hand. When a lender is evaluating your credit, if they're seeing late payments and they're seeing some bankruptcies and some foreclosures and some other things going on, collections and so forth, now they're saying that's tied to your character somehow, right? But you may have had some major incidents in your life. You may have went through a divorce, you may have had lost a job, you may have had illness yourself or illness within your family, and that impacts your credit. So when I'm talking to you about your character, I'm starting with your credit, and I'm looking for issues, and then I'm asking questions, and I'm wanting you to give me an explanation as to what happened, because life happens all the time, right? And so it can't be a stopping point for you for obtaining funding because you've had some type of incident in your life that has impacted your credit, but we do need to work through that hurdle because character is something that is looked at when you are seeking funding. The next one would be collateral. Do you have any collateral to pledge? Again, different funding sources are going to be looking for different kinds of collateral. The collateral also can help determine what you may have or what you may need to purchase, what kind of funding we're going after, the loan type, for instance. So you may needing to buy some equipment. Now, that could be a regular SBA loan, or that could be an equipment loan, right? So we would need to determine that. So that goes to the use of funds, that goes towards the collateral that you have and the collateral you want to purchase. And so with that, that helps also give me some information to help guide you to the type of funding that is possible and available to you. And then capital. So how much is it that you need? You may only need like $10,000. Well, that's a different kind of lender than if I would be sending you to a lender that you needed 150 or 300,000, or you're wanting to buy a piece of real estate. So in all of those different scenarios, those are different lenders, different funders that I may direct you to. So again, just having this conversation with you, I can quickly work through where I would need to guide you. And then finally, capacity. What is your ability to repay? So if you're a startup, though you're going to give projections as far as your a business plan and as far as your proposal and your application to a lender, projections aren't going to get you over the hump, right, as far as funding goes, because lenders are still going to be looking for that you have an ability to repay that debt, be it a second source of income. You're going to stay at your job until you get your business up and going to where you're able to then transition out of your job. If your spouse is going to help participate in that, if you got a significant amount of savings that you can draw from. So the capacity to repay that loan is very important as well. And so all of those together and having a conversation with you takes me about 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you're trying to be quiet, not really tell me everything and I've got to dig deep to figure it all out. But if you tell me quickly, we can move through it, 30, 45 minutes, and I can tell you where you can go. Different lenders that are available to you, interest rates, if you need to bring money to the table, if you need to have collateral, and just having a very open conversation, and then also give you directions for other resources that might help you prepare for that funding as well.
Thank you. So you're saying the loan products are like cupcakes that come in a variety of sizes, shapes, colors, flavors?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
sprinkles
Yeah,
too.
Okay. We want to share the love here, so I'm going to ask Kevin our next question. So financial projections can be intimidating. I find them intimidating, I'll be honest, and they're time consuming. They're a lot of work to create. So how do you recommend a client approach this task, and what tools do you recommend such that those projections are actually useful?
Yeah, so I actually enjoy doing financial projections and helping folks with those. I'm probably the big minority in this group that does not like doing that. It can be a challenge. If you're a brand new business and you're projecting into the future, you have no business history, it's much more of a challenge, right? But part of doing that, if you're a brand new business, you really haven't started much, the reason why you want to do that, first and foremost, is it forces you to look at all the different areas of the financials that you're going to be having, your different costs, your variable costs, your fixed costs, and so forth. And by forcing you to do that, it's going to uncover things, deficiencies, again, like I said before, numbers tell a story. So doing the financials is definitely a very valuable thing. The way I work with clients to help them with financial projections. Now, if you're an existing business, you got a couple years, you got two 12-month periods to do the financials. Your projections for that, that we work on together for that third year are going to be much more accurate than just a straight up, I have no history. But that's okay, right? They don't need to be perfect. They need to be good enough. It needs to force you to think through those different things. And again, that could be a challenge. And that's why we're here to help with those different things. There's different methods to do that. Obviously, I use a lot of my templates, but I also use some of the business tools, Profit Sense a little bit for that, because doing projections, one way to get those projections a little bit more accurate than they otherwise would be is look at what your peers are doing, similar businesses that are like yours. And there's lots of information out there. They're called industry benchmarks. And if you look at, similar companies like yours, let's say in the Midwest, they're doing less than $1 million. What's their typical cost of goods sold? What's their, therefore their gross margin? What do they spend on payroll typically? What do they spend on, other operating costs, debt service, all those different things there. So again, it can be a daunting challenge to do the projections, but it's really important. And I always tell my clients, as an entrepreneur, you tend to like the things that aren't numbers, right? You like the sales, you like going, trying to meet new vendors, build partnerships, just the marketing stuff. All those things are maybe more sexy. They're more fun to do. Numbers aren't always the most fun thing to do, but you have to do that, right? And you have to establish not just the projections, but what's going to be your methodology to keep track of your numbers. And if you're a new business, you want to start that from the get-go, right? So don't wait until you're, a year into the business and it's like, all right, I got to, this Excel worksheet kind of works, but, you really want to track everything and start that from the get-go. And that also helps when you do that because you have a solid set of records that helps us to help you to look at where are you financially, how financially healthy is your business. And again, you want to be as healthy as you can, and then what improvements can we make based upon that analysis that we do. So again, if you're a new business in the room, one of the first things I tell clients is let's make sure we start on the right foot, right? You have your team, you have the different things that you need to have, your insurance person, your banker, an attorney. Who else is there? Who am I missing? Us, advisors, us are here to help you. No cost for our services. We're looking at things that maybe you're not seeing. It's your business. You probably know your business a lot better than we do. But that's okay because our eyes are unbiased, just wanting to help you and looking at how can you improve. So again, projections. Again, I love projections and valuable thing. I mentioned Profit Sense, the different templates and so forth. But again, if you're an existing business, make sure you establish. If you haven't already established something, figure out what kind of system you want to use. And there's lots of choices, right? QuickBooks is great, but there's lots of other choices, right? You want to pick some type of a tracking system that fits you, that fits your style, right? So one, they might ask me, what's the best one? Well, the best one is the one that fits you, that fits your habits. Just you try to know yourself. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. And if you don't have a copy of our provider referral directory, reach out to your advisor and ask for that. And that has an entire page of low or no cost bookkeeping platforms.
Yep.
So there are options out there. If you aren't already using one, you're probably going to find something that will suit you, at least initially. So don't hesitate to explore that option. And I'm reminded of Dave Krebs. Anybody attended the tax workshop with Dave? He always says that good business requires good records, and it's true every time. So I want to turn to Tanya real quick, just because we all see this problem quite a bit, and this is about target market. Can you talk about the tools and resources and process you would recommend to help a client clearly identify their target market such that they can validate their business model and their business plan?
Yeah, the most important thing in developing a business is knowing who your target audience is. One thing that sometimes is hard to hear is that everyone is not your customer. And so that's the number one thing you have to understand. Not every person is going to want your product or service, no matter how great it is. And so what we are looking for is who is our best customer. And so who is the person who is most likely to want your product and buy your product. And I always say we will accept anyone's money, right? We do not turn away money, anyone who wants to buy a product, but we have a finite amount of resources in terms of time, money, capital, et cetera. And until our business grows, we have to focus on that best customer. When you're doing that, one of the number one things you want to start out with is clearly understanding your customers. Shift their focus from you developing your service and your business to your customer and what their needs are. What is the problem that exists in the market that your business is the solution for? And so you really have to think in terms of, like, if someone does not know you exist and they have some type of problem, what are they looking for? What are they trying? Like, if they're hungry, right? So someone's hungry, they may not know your particular business exists. And so they go out and they start searching for that. So you have to really know who your target audience is. Be very honest, and start out just by thinking, like, why are you even developing this product or service in the first place? There's probably something has happened that you've identified. Either you need it, or someone you know needs it. Start with looking at that first, and then you're going to do your research to validate that. And so you'll do your secondary research. Google is always a great resource to start with. As we mentioned earlier, our Columbus Metropolitan Library has an amazing amount of resources, and so all you need is your library card, and you can access their databases. They have databases that will let you look up the demographics of your customers. So demographics, it also has psychographic information. There's lots of information that's available from the census data. And so you can get that, especially like if you're going to open up a daycare or adult daycare or something in a particular area. You want to know geographically how many children are there, or how many individuals are there. And so you'll do that's kind of called secondary research when you're going out and hitting the databases. And then you'll want to do some primary, depending on how much you're investing in this. If you're investing a lot in your business, you're definitely going to want to do some primary research on your own. So you might pull together a focus group. You might go out and test your product. We see it a lot in the summer, like when we're out at the festivals, there'll be a company that has a booth and they're just handing out free samples. They're beta testing that product and seeing how well it's going to be received. And so, and then at one point, I just suggest that, at some point we just have to, leap, right? We have to do all the preparation that we can. And then we jump. We put it out there. We go after the target audience that we've identified, and that's really when you're going to start refining your market, right? You're going to see who are the customers that are coming in to me, and talking to your customers. How did you find us? What do you think of the product or service? And really starting to identify. Then it may completely shock you. You may have been going for another for one audience, and you may see that there's a whole other demographic that's interested, and so. When you're, the audience is your primary thing, and so that's the number one thing you want to focus on, because who that audience is going to dictate how your messaging is, what you're saying in your messaging, and where you're looking for these individuals, right? So, certain age groups are going to be on, say, Facebook. Facebook is a good one. But there may be a lot that are on a complete other platform. There's primary only women that are on, like a large subset of individuals are on Pinterest, right? So if you're going after the male audience, Pinterest may not be your best bet. And so starting with your audience is what's going to gear you in that direction.
Thank you. And Mike's creeping up on us, so I think our time is over. And I had more questions. I'm so more disappointment. Sorry about that. So, thanks Tanya, Ellen, and Kevin for being here, and for everybody staying awake even after lunch. So, thanks for having us.